Hello, this is Michael Devlin. I'm the Vice President of Career Development for Century 21 Real Estate Alliance, a 8-office and growing group around the Bay Area. Today's session is about getting your real estate career on track, and this will be part one of a several-part series, and we're going to talk about goals and perspective today. Sounds like fun. So the basic truth is most people who get into real estate don't make it. They don't succeed. There are a lot of different quotes I've heard, a lot of different percentages bandied about. 87% leave in the first 5 years. 90% don't renew their license. None of that I'm able to actually verify myself. However, it is obvious that most people who get started in a real estate career don't in fact make it. And within a certain period of time, a year, 2, 5 years, they have left the business. And even of those that are in the business, a large percentage of the business is done by a small number of agents. So what you have is a large group of people that are relatively unsuccessful, perhaps not that professional, not that motivated, not that well trained, who are fighting over a small part of the business, and a relatively smaller group that are knowledgeable, professional, and well trained that are getting the bulk of the real estate transactions. One question would be, why do so many people fail? Everybody had good intentions when they got their real estate license. They were all enthusiastic. However, a lot of people I don't think know what they're getting themselves into. They think it's going to be easy. They think it's going to be just customer service. The term unconscious incompetent we're going to talk about a little bit more, but they don't really know what they don't know. And they don't understand that it's a sales job. If I ask people in real estate, if you didn't sell real estate, what would you sell instead? I get a lot of blank looks because it's like, well, I wouldn't be selling anything instead. I'm not really in sales now, am I? And you need to understand that it is a sales job, and we're going to talk more about that. And then there's I think the tendency to focus on technical areas. I want to learn how to use the website. I want to use the customer relationship management system. I want to study contracts and things like that. That's about 20% of your success. 80% is learning the techniques that you're going to need. Where do you go? What do you say? Who do you talk to? What words do you use? How do you present yourself? All of that is what's necessary to be successful. Also, there needs to be a willingness and ability to talk to people. At its most simplest, real estate and all sales is about talking to people. The more people you talk to, the more you get paid. If you only talk to some people, then you're only going to get paid some. But if you talk to a lot of people, you can get paid a lot. You need to have a willingness and ability to talk to people. That includes the people you already know. We'll cover that in another session. And people you don't know, because you probably don't know enough people to make a career just out of them. Also, a lot of people don't commit. You know, if you were to go to medical school or to law school, I doubt you would be telling your friends, well, I'll try it for 6 months. You never know. You know, I might not like being around sick people. They're always complaining, that sort of thing. I'll try it. Probably not. If you'd spent that much time and effort and money to become a doctor or become a lawyer, then you would be a doctor and a lawyer. You would commit to doing it for a period of time. Real estate is relatively easy to get into. People have a tendency sometimes not to commit. And you have to commit for a long enough period of time to produce results. It takes time to get paid. Did you know that? If you found somebody who wanted to buy or sell a house today, it could be 30 days before you get paid. If it took you a while to arrange for that, a month or two, you're looking at perhaps 3 months before you're paid. Easy to get into real estate, easy to get out of. We all know people that are quote, failed, end quote, real estate agents. They were real estate agents, but now they're not real estate agents. Not a stigma, you know, people don't shun you, treat you like you've got leprosy or some other condition. It's relatively common to see people go into the business and leave the business. And it's very optional while you're in it. No one's looking over your shoulder telling you what to do, what not to do. You know, we don't call you at 10 in the morning and say, hey, where are you? It's It's not that kind of a deal. So that requires a lot of self-discipline. It's also harder at first. There are different stages that you're going to go through. Inertia is where you usually begin, which means there's no movement at all. We move into movement, acceleration, and momentum, and the business changes over time. So the 4 stages of learning. The beginning stage, this comes from a guy named Maslow. And he talks about an unconscious incompetent, which is people that don't even know what it is they do not know. If you've watched a young child learning to tie the shoes, they go through the stage. At first, they don't understand why they're wearing them or how they got on their feet. They just happen to be there. Conscious competence are people that know what they don't know. Right, this is the kid who knows he wants to put on the shoes, but doesn't really know how to do it, makes an effort, but just can't do it. A lot of mistakes and confusion as we're moving up this pyramid. The conscious competent is somebody who knows what they don't know and they're finding it out. Right? They know it, but they have to think about it. It requires effort. This is the kid with the tongue sticking out, carefully lacing the shoes together. They become consciously competent. And the unconscious competent, hopefully that's where you are when we tie shoes. We're not thinking about what we're doing. It just happens. Now, as this relates to real estate, a lot of people who come into the business have come from some other field, some other profession, where maybe you were the experienced person, you were answering questions, people came to you for guidance, and it's a hard transition sometimes to make where you're the one who doesn't know what's going on, you're making mistakes, there's confusion, and many people just don't want to go through that uncomfortable stage of learning, of growing, of mastering something that's completely new. Then there are the 4 stages of movement. You start in inertia, which means there's no movement. Think of it like a railroad car sitting on a track, and we want to move the car down the track. So we start to push the car. It's at a dead stop right now. The ratio of push to movement is really, really high. These are not scientific numbers, but let's say it requires 50 units of push to create 1 unit of movement. Once the railroad car starts moving, once you have progress, the ratio is a lot less. It might cut in half. It might mean that 25 units of pushing equals 1 unit of movement. Acceleration is when you're picking up speed. Progress gets easier. It seems like every time you push, you get movement. You have a 1-to-1 ratio. And finally, in momentum, you're sitting on the railroad car and riding it without pushing. It's just moving on its own. That's where we want to be in real estate. I can remember when it first happened to me, and a couple called me up and they said, "Hey, do you remember us? You sold us a home 5 years ago. We want to sell our home and buy something bigger. When can you come by and put our home on the market?" And I was like, wow, that was easier than the way it had been for the first 5 years. So once we reach momentum, people are calling you, people are referring you, and it gets easier. How to succeed. The bottom line is massive action. If you wish to make money in real estate, do everything, try everything. You don't necessarily know at this point what's going to work for you and what you're going to like overall. Even if you don't like doing it, maybe that's a reason to do it. Earl Nightingale wrote that learning to do the things unsuccessful people don't like to do is the common denominator of success. The goal would be to write up some business in the next 30 days, not in 6 months, not in a year, but right now. Do something. You need to pick the right office, one that has a training program, coaching program, mentoring, and the support you need with the tools and systems that are required to be successful in real estate these days. And finally, you have to see the business as your own. As an independent contractor, you're in business for yourself, not alone, but for yourself. You're not relying on the office or the company to give you business. You have your own mini franchise. The people that are most successful successful in real estate are people that want to have their own business. It wouldn't hurt if you have some business acumen. Perspective is, why are you in real estate? Why? Why did you go to the trouble? What are your goals? What would it do to your life? What would be different if you were successful in real estate from where you are now? Why is that important to you? By the way, these are the kinds of questions you're going to have to learn to ask clients. Why do you want to move? Why would you want to buy? What's important to you? What does that do for you? What does that mean? Because most things in life, well, it comes down to motivation. And you have a lot of options. You could be a big-time agent with a team and people working for you. You could be full-time and successful. Dual career means that you have other commitments, either a family or another job. You could do that. And then there are hobbyists. There are people who get their real estate license because maybe they want to buy a house, maybe they want to sell a house, who really knows? And, this is just sort of a hobby. It's sort of something for them to do. These are all okay. It's just that you need to know, which are you? How would you define yourself? What type of an agent do you plan on being? So what are your goals? Most of the people don't have them. Most of the people, 97%, 95% of people do not have written goals. They don't have a written plan, and they're not successful. There's generally a small group of people that write down their goals and they succeed. Usually, goal setters suffer less stress and anxiety because they have goals and they have plans. They're able to concentrate and focus better because they have a goal and a plan. They're more self-confident because they have a plan, they have a goal. Perform better in all areas of life. Your goal should include not just the selling of real estate, but everything that you need to do and be more effective at. And people that are good goal setters are happier and more satisfied with life. That's what the surveys say. So goal setting and self-confidence, if you are able to set goals and measure your achievement, that's an important part of this, then you're able to see what you've done and what you're accomplishing and how you're moving closer to the end process. The process of achieving goals and seeing their completion gives you confidence and a belief in yourself, and you can then go higher and higher and higher. If you have the self-discipline, this is not a complicated, difficult thing to do. You just need self-discipline in order to carry it out. So what different types of goals should you have? Personal growth should be included, real estate career, education, anything you want to learn. Do you have a family? Would you like to have a family? How's the family doing? Financial goals. Do you want to have money set aside for retirement? Do you want to be investing? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to get in better shape? Do you have hobbies? Is there anything fun that you do that you would like to do? Being of service, coming from contribution, giving to others. These are all potential goal settings. Now your goals should be SMART. SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time scales. When we talk about specific goals, I want to make a lot of money is not a specific goal. I want to get going fast and then I want to make a lot of money. That's not specific enough for us to do a lot with it. We need, that's just way too loose and vague. And have we reached our goal or not? Well, I don't know. How do you know if you've reached your target? If your goal is specific, I'm going to add so many people to my database. I'm going to do so many transactions. I'm going to have so many appointments. I'm going to talk to so many people each day. I'm going to preview so many homes every week. Now, these are specific and therefore will be measurable goals. Do you have a strategic business plan? That would be part of this. And measurable would mean that we could know whether or not we've reached it. So by measurable, generating new leads, but I'm going to mail out 700 postcards on a monthly basis. I'm going to do it for 6 months. I'm going to follow up. That's a simple and concrete business goal. I'm going to talk to 2 for sale by owners a day. I'm going to talk to 2 expired listings a day. Those are measurable goals. And by measurable, we're asking how much are we going to do? When will it be accomplished? And what is the baseline? We're going to go from here to where? We're going to start with 100 people in our database and move to 200. How are we going to measure our goals? They have to be achievable or attainable. I've had people say to me, when I've asked them the question, well, how much money do you expect to make in your first year? What is your goal? They'll say $500,000. Now, people have done that. That's not impossible. It's just not realistic for most people because of the amount of time and effort that would have to be put in to do it. Do you really have that time and effort? Do you have that much time and effort available that this is a realistic target? I don't believe that setting, I've heard the aim high, if we set unrealistically high goals and then we don't reach them, we get into this mindset perhaps that we don't need to reach our goals because goals are not something you reach, they're just the pie in the sky, So that's somehow, some people see that as setting themselves up for failure by setting goals that are just too out of reach. Realistic and relevant. Relevant means, are they really going to help us reach where we want to be? What is my life goal? Where would I like to go with this? What do I want my real estate career to look like? These goals must be realistic. If I think that I want to be in a niche, but I don't necessarily know if I'm going to have that much time to focus on the niche, that may not be realistic. Realistic would mean, can I accomplish the goal? Relevant would mean, how does it move me forward? How does it achieve this? How is this important in me moving forward and reaching my ultimate goals? Time framed. When is it going to be done? To say, I want to be successful someday, I want things to be going soon, I'd like to get my business off the ground, it would be better if we actually had target dates as to when we wanted to do what and where we would like to be at certain points in the path. So setting and achieving income goals. Well, this is a good place to start. If we would put in how much money would we like to earn in the next 12 months, and we put that in the first box, and then our average sales price. So let's say that $200,000 is going to be how much we want to earn. What is your average sales price? In my area, it's about $1 million. What would the average commission percentage be? Now, if you're brand new, we might be getting a 2.5% side on the transaction. You might be on a 70% split. What is that going to be? Once you know that, you divide the income goal by whatever C is. So you take the average sales price and you divide that by the take your income goal in A, and divide that by the total. Why don't I do a sample? So $200,000 is our income. $1 million is our price. If we took 2.5% of that, that would be $25,000. On a 70% split would put me at $17,500 a pop each time I sold a house. Now, if I want to do $200,000 in commission and I'm getting $17,500 per transaction, I take the $200,000, I divide it by the $17,500, and I come up with 11 transactions. So slightly less than one a month. If I did 11 transactions at $17,500, I would be grossing $200,000 in commission. So how many contracts would I need to have in order to close 11 transactions? They don't always close. Even in good markets, they don't always close. Let's say that 90% of my transactions are going to close. If I take 11 and then I divide by 0.90, that's going to show me what 11 is 90% of 13 transactions. Well, if I had an agreement with somebody that I'm going to sell your home or you're going to buy with me, how many of those agreements would result in a contract? Let's say I'm batting 50%. Two agreements equals a closing. That would mean 26 agreements with buyers or sellers. Let's say that I needed 2 appointments in order to get somebody to agree to work with me. That would mean 52 appointments I would need. And essentially 48 is divide the total number of appointments by 48. I fudged up a little bit, I rounded up. If we had 1 appointment a week, And we did that every month, or for 52 weeks, let's just say. One appointment a week for 52 weeks, we would reach that goal. So how many, weeks are you planning on working? So essentially, a goal of an appointment a week would probably reach us to $200,000 in gross commission income. If we did 2 appointments a week, or an appointment every other day, 2 or 3 appointments a week, we would get there a lot quicker. So goal setting example would be to write something like this out. My financial goal is to earn X amount of money. I would like to take so many listings. I'm willing to work so many hours a week on hot productive time. I'm going to work so many days, take so many weekends off a month. I'm going to take so many vacations. I'm going to work so many hours per week to prospect a minimum of so many hours a week, of which 65% is highly productive. So examples of highly productive time would be showing properties, presenting offers, contacting expireds, holding open houses, contacting for sale by owners, calling our leads, door knocking, following up by phone or mail campaigns. All of these are examples of hot times. Warm times would be things where we're not going to get a yes or no to somebody buying or selling with us today, but these are all the different kinds of activities that we would need to be doing in order to perhaps get into a place where we were having a yes or no conversation with somebody. A business plan, that would be nice. Do you have one? Do you have goals? Is it what you want? Have you made a plan to reach the goals? Can you actually see yourself doing this? Are there deadlines? Scheduling is the key. Putting the plan in action. You plan your work and you work your plan. So one way of putting together a business plan would be to start off by saying, I'm going to close, let's say, 12 transactions in the next 12 months, and 9 will be sellers, and 4 will be, why not? 4 will be buyers. And to just take a stab at this. This is the number of transactions. This is how many buyers. This is how many sellers. Then we would say, okay, sellers, I'm going to do 9 transactions, right? I'm going to write in 9 in front of transactions, and then I'm going to write down 5 ways in which I could find people that wanted to sell. I could talk to my sphere of influence. I could canvass around the open houses. I could talk to for sale by owners. I could talk to expired listings. I could work a geographic territory. So I'll be writing out a list of things that I'm going to do in order to find sellers. And then do the same thing for buyers. If I'm going to have 4 buyer transactions, how am I going to find them? Well, there's sphere of influence. I could be doing open houses. I could be marketing to people that rent. I could be marketing to investors, home buying seminars. I could be reaching out to lenders and other vendors that might know people that want to buy a house. And then finally, we need to have a strategy for the product, and you're the product. What do you need to do to become a better you when it comes to real estate? What do you need to learn? What tools do you need? What do you need to know? For example, would be to create and practice a listing presentation, to create and practice a buyer consultation, to practice scripts, for handling objections, to take classes, to read books. These would be things that you could write down that you're going to do to make you a better you when it comes to real estate. So examples of what you might put into a business plan is to read and review it weekly, ask your manager or mentor, or get a professional coach to help you gauge your performance, keep you accountable, preparing and learning scripts, role-playing, make so many calls a week, a day, contact so many expires, so many for sale by owners, so motivational videos, attend seminars, contact, mail out certain numbers, contact people in your sphere of influence, preview new listings, learn scripts, visit other agents' open houses, totally familiarize yourself both physically and statistically with your market area. That, I believe, is a big one. Other things, contacting absentee owners, old for sale by owners, already expireds, vendors, builders, banks. These are just some sample things that might go into a plan. The 90-day rule, there's two aspects of this. First, whatever we're doing now is more likely to have an effect in 90 days than it is now. Also, you need to do things for a sustained period of time before it actually becomes part of you, becomes ingrained in you. And 90 days is a good time for that. You don't, just because you're busy now doesn't mean you're going to be busy in 90 days. So what we're doing today is really something for 90 days from now. 80% of your time should be spent prospecting when you're new. If you don't already have business, getting business would be pretty high on the list of priorities. So 80% of your time should be spent on finding people that will want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Time. The most important function of a salesperson is to get clients. Would you agree with that? That if your job is that of a salesperson, the most important thing you should be doing is finding people that want to buy or sell real estate. That's the most important thing. 80% of your time should be spent on this if you're not already busy servicing clients. Do you plan on doing real estate on a full-time, 40-hour-a-week basis? If the answer is yes, and you're willing to spend 80% of your time focusing on the number one thing you need to do, which is to get clients, that's 32 hours a week. And if you divided that by 5 days, that's 6.4 hours a day. If you were only planning on working part-time, a 20-hour work week, and you were devoting 80% of your time to getting business, which is the number one thing you ought to do, that would be 16 hours a week. If you divided that by 5 days, that's 3.2 hours a day. You're going to hear the 3 hours a day bandied about by people that you should be spending 3 hours a day on lead generation. 3 hours a day is rounding down with an 80% focus of a 20-hour work week. And time blocking. This is the final drop of Kool-Aid. What time blocking means is we look at our calendar and we decide when we're going to do what. Right? Lead generation. When are my 3 hours? When are they going to be? Which days am I doing it, and what am I going to do? I need to block time for following up, because if I'm actually spending time talking to people, then I'm going to have lead follow-up, which generally takes at least a third as much time as the actual lead generating does. I should have time set for weekly appointments, things that would grow my career, administrative tasks. Did you know there's a lot of paperwork in real estate? And even personal time. Vacations, time off, things like that. So action items. First of all, write down what your why is for being in real estate. Share it with somebody. Tell me. Decide what type of agent you want to be, full-time, part-time, or a hobbyist. Set an income goal. Determine the number of days per week you plan on working and how many hours per day. And then produce a time block calendar that has this plan in it. If you would like help, I have coaching, training, and mentoring programs for new and used agents. Coaching is more about goal setting, coming up with strategies and accountability. Training, of course, is just training, imparting information as to how to do things. Mentoring involves transaction partnering, helping with clients, helping with what to say to them, helping with transactions, all of that. If you'd like to know more about how that works, contact me. The name's Michael Devlin, Vice President of Career Development, Century 21 Real Estate Alliance. That's my email, phone number to call if you'd like to make an appointment. Look forward to helping you with your successful real estate career.